Hello, in this video tutorial we're going to talk about how we can save all of the students and judges' contact information so that we can send them their electronic postings by email or text, and all of the judges their e-ballots by email or text. So a lot of this will be what coaches will need to do ahead of the tournament. That will really save a lot of time and ensure accuracy. But as a tournament director, you also can update or save the email and text. If any of the coaches who are registering for your tournament are having trouble for it, you can ask them to just send you that information, and then you can go through and add it if needed. So go ahead and jump in and show you sort of what it looks like from the coach's perspective. And so if I'm the coach at Blue Mountain State, I would go to this drop down right here and go to my student roster. And on the student roster, you'll see that I have my existing students, and they already have their emails and phone numbers listed along with their posting preferences. And so this is really the biggest change that coaches need to adjust to for online tournaments. When we're face-to-face at a traditional tournament, we don't need this information. And so very few coaches have been saving it on the website. But in an online tournament, in order to get the postings to the students and the ballots to the judges, this information needs to be saved. And so if as coaches are creating their rosters for this season, they go ahead and add a new student, they can enter that information right here on this form. And so if I were to add a new student, say John Adams, I could enter his email address, enter his phone number, and then set that John Adams wants to get his postings by email. Go ahead and click Save. You'll see that student is now listed here under my student roster, their email address, their phone number, and then their posting preference. You'll notice that for the first student, Garrett Morgan, the email address has a green check on it, and the phone number has a green check, which means these channels have been verified, that the ForensicStournament.net can send out a verification email or text, and the student has clicked on that to confirm that that's the correct email address, and that as well, ForensicStournament.net can send an email or text to that email address or phone number. Of course, sometimes the websites get blocked. I found especially .edu accounts can sometimes be very strict on what emails get through. So sometimes it's better to use a personal email address, a Gmail or a Yahoo. Sometimes that has slightly less strict spam filters, and so it lets emails get through a little bit better. And so if you realize you made a mistake with the email address, you can go ahead and click on the student's name and then update it here. So maybe it's johnadams1@whitehouse.gov. And then you can also change a student status here from active to inactive. If the student's no longer on your team, you don't want them showing up on the roster. And then you can update their preference to email, text, or paper. So go ahead and click Update. So this is updated. Go back to the student roster. And if you need to edit all of your students very quickly, say you have students from last year and you want to quickly add email addresses, you can click on this Edit All Students link, and then you can quickly add the email addresses, phone numbers, and posting preferences for all of your students. They're originally going to be listed as paper because that's sort of how tournaments have been run up until this point. And so if you want to quickly say, yes, all my students will be getting their postings by email, you can click that link right here, click Update, and the information's all set. The next step that coaches need to do is verify this information. And so you'll notice that for the student we just added, there's a red X saying that this information has not been verified. So you can go ahead and click this button to verify the email, and it says the verification has been sent. Hopefully this doesn't cause any problems. I just sent that email, but we should be good. And then you can also do the same thing with the phone. However, you'll notice here you get an error message because this is not a valid phone number, so it wasn't able to send the verification out to the student. And that will give you a good indication that maybe something's wrong with the phone number. You can go ahead and edit it and add a new phone number. You'll see here that these students have pending verifications. I sent those verifications earlier, and if I just reload this page, you'll see now John Adams has a pending verification as well. So then if you could let your students know that they should have received an email asking them to verify that you've entered it correctly, they can click on the link in the email. This will then change to a green check, and you'll know that your students are able to get their postings electronically from ForensicsTournament.net. The judge roster works exactly the same way. If you go under your school page, judge roster, you'll note that you can add new judges here the same way. And then here's a judge I recently added, Alexander Hamilton. You'll see that he has a pending verification email. So I sent that verification earlier. I can send one here to Maya Lynn. Okay, the verification's been sent. And again, if I try to verify the phone, I'll get an error since this isn't a valid phone number. Again, if you need to make any edits, you just click on the judge's name, or you can click on Edit All Judges. That will quickly provide you a form to do many edits quickly. Click Update. And that's really what coaches need to do to adapt to the online environment. If you want to quickly verify all of the contact information for your students and judges, you can click on this link. And this will tell you for your school who has a verified text, who has a verified email, who's pending, who has no valid contact information, so we can't verify, and who has unverified text or unverified emails. And if you click the Send Verifications button, it will send it out to everybody who has unverified information with a click of one button, which might save you some time. All right, so that's what coaches need to do ahead of the tournament, and I'll be creating a separate video for coaches to know how to enter this information. But as a tournament director, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to what the coaches will be doing. So if I go back to my tournament, this online test tournament that we were setting up in the last video, and I go to the admin page, you'll be able to see this information if you go under the contact menu. And if I go over here to verify email text, you'll see any competitors and judges who have a verified text who are registered at your tournament will be listed here in the green box. They're good to go. Anybody who has a verified email, competitors or judges, will be good to go. And people who show up in these boxes have set their either postings preferences or ballot preferences to text or email. So you know how many students and judges will get their information by text, how many will get them by email. If anybody's listed here under paper, that's a big red flag for an online tournament, because that means they're not going to be getting any postings or ballots from the website, because their preference is set to paper, and so it's not going to work. And so you want to make sure you address anybody who's listed here under paper to make sure that the information will be getting to them. Then over here, you'll see anybody who's registered at your tournament has their posting or ballot preference set to text, but has not yet verified. And so that's sort of a warning that if you try to send an e-ballot to Alexander Hamilton, who's a registered judge at this tournament, via text, which is their ballot preference, they may or may not get that e-ballot. Because if the coach entered the wrong information, it might not be going to them, or ForensicsTournament.net is having trouble connecting with them through text or email. And so, big warning, you may have trouble with this judge. Same thing down here with the competitor. If they have an unverified email, it means that the coach has entered an email and set that this student would like to get their postings through email, but we haven't yet verified them. And so just like on the previous page, if you click this test button, it will quickly send a test verification through text or email to anybody who's listed in these boxes. And so with the click of one button, say you have 30 competitors here, 20 judges here, 40 competitors here, 15 judges here, you can send all the verifications for your entire tournament through here. And one of the best practices we found is if your tournament starts at, say, 9 a.m. on Saturday, if you go ahead and click this at 8:30, 8:30 in the morning on Saturday, a lot of students and judges will verify it very quickly because they're getting ready for the tournament. They may already be at their computer, and they can quickly click this verification. We also usually try to do it, a day before, 2 days before, just to try to get people moved over to those green boxes. And it's helpful as well if you find like maybe it's one school has a bunch of competitors who are unverified. You can always contact that school and ask the coach to verify their contact information. So this is a very important screen for online tournaments. Again, you can get here through contact, verify, email, text. And really ideally, before you start your tournament, You want anybody who's listed over here to go into the green, and you'd want nobody listed here under paper because they're not going to be getting any of the information that they need for either their postings or ballots. Now, as a tournament director, you can set the phone or email for any competitors or judges manually. So I wanted to show you that in case a coach sends you a message that they're having trouble doing it themselves and they say, here's all my students, here's their email addresses, please send postings to their email. You go ahead and go under Entries, Competitors. If I pick a school that's registered at my tournament, Blue Mountain, and I pick a student, George Washington, you'll see here that the phone and email is listed. And what this tells you, this green check tells you, is that they have a phone and email saved on the system. But say it's incorrect, and the coach or maybe even the student contacts you through the help room, and they want to update their email to something different because they're not getting the information. You'll notice that there's nothing listed in the box. That's purposeful because we thought as for privacy reasons, we don't want tournament directors necessarily knowing the phone number or email address for every student or judge at the tournament. But what you can do is go ahead and type in a new email address. So say Mount Vernon GWash at example.com and click update. That will go ahead and update George Washington's email to the email address you listed there. Again, it's not going to show for privacy reasons, but now that email address will be used to send out any postings for that student. The same thing for judges. If you click Entries, Judges, and I click the judge who's registered at my tournament, I can set here a new email address or new phone number. Again, it's not listed for privacy reasons. You can update the ballot preference as well to paper, email, or text. Go ahead and click Update, and that way you can update the information if you get from a judge or student that their email address should be changed. All right, so that's sort of the system that's in place for coaches, hopefully, to do most of this work before the tournament. And I think this is definitely something where it will get easier as the season goes along. You know, the first few tournaments aren't gonna have all this information, but as we get to more and more online tournaments, coaches will have already done this, and the students and judges will have already been getting postings or ballots from the website, so you'll have much more success getting them the information. So again, the quick review, you want your coaches to hopefully set those emails, texts, and posting preferences for students, emails, texts, and ballot preferences for judges. Verify those ahead of time. The more work that's done before the tournament, the easier that first round will be. But as a tournament director, you can see sort of what the status of that is and try to move that along by sending out those test verifications, as well as by contacting the coaches and trying to get them to do it if you notice one school is listed there. Okay, thanks.